Hey guys, thanks for clicking on this video. If you're here after watching my Foundation 101 tutorial, that is probably the best natural progression just to finish off this super easy and quick base makeup. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video and that today I can maybe teach you a little bit more. Just one quick thing before I do start is that I am going to be using all powder products today. So obviously there are things like cream blush, liquid highlight, all going on. Today I'm going to be using powder just because it is something that I find that my friends and myself and my clients have powder more available than they do the other products. So that's what I'm going to be using today. And the contouring that I'm going to be doing today is super basic. I might have to do another video doing some different face shapes, but today I'm just going to be focusing on cheekbones, jawline and hairline, just to keep it super simple. Alright, so I've just finished my foundation, concealer and powder. I'm going to come in now and do some super simple contouring around my face. For that, I'm going to do my cheekbones, a bit around the forehead and a little bit around the jawline. So there seems to be a bit of confusion about the difference between contouring and bronzing, and I totally get why they sort of like blend together. But contouring is when we're focusing on the shapes of our face, like slimming cheekbones or contouring a nose, my hair is smaller, and then bronzing is generally warming up the face in general. So when we're contouring, we want to be mimicking the sort of tone of shadows. When we look, there might be one. When we're contouring, we want to be focusing on the tone of the shadow, which is a cooler color. So when we're picking our bronzer, we want to pick something that is on the cooler side to give us that sort of appearance of a shadow. So now that we know that we need to use cooler tones, I'm going to come in and do some contouring on the face. If I was to use something that was too orange, it would look a little bit funny. So the color that I'm going to be using today, and it doesn't look cool in this light, but it is the Fenty Beauty Stalker bronzer. It is a good one because they come in colors that are really light for really pale skins, and they do quite a dark bronzer, which is good for deeper skin tones, which is amazing. So what I'm going to come do is just load my brush up. So now that we know what sort of colors and products to use, we're going to talk about where to put it. So contouring, typically on majority of people, it is hard because there are different face shapes, but majority of my clients want, and who doesn't really want, like nice chiseled cheekbones, right? So I'm going to come in and do my cheekbones now. So where do we put it is the million-dollar question. We want to start sort of at the top of the ear to the corner of the mouth is sort of the angle that we want to come at. So here to here. So what I'm going to do, I've loaded up my brush. The brush that I'm using today is a natural fiber brush that is sort of made for contouring, which is great, and it's going to do half the work for you. So I can link that below, but lots of companies make these brushes. So now that we've established the angle, I'm going to come in and just sort of pat it where I want it. If you're going to do it wrong, in all honesty, it is better to put it up higher than it is lower. If I put this line too low, it's really going to drag the appearance of my whole face down. So first I'm just going to come in and pat. So notice I'm not bringing it the whole way down, obviously, to the side of my lip. I'm going to start to fade it out. About here is where my eye sort of starts. So I'm going to come in and then start to feather it around here. So I'm just packing it on here. And now that there's not really anything left on my brush, I'm going to start to sweep it down towards my cheek. So you can see that I've got a really faint line so far. I'm just going to come in and build it up a bit more. So what I'm doing is just patting it on and then really lightly feathering it out. So now that I've got the line, am I going to blend it up or down? Up. The reason I'm blending it up is, again, it's going to sculpt the face up. If I blend it down, it's going to make the face look really sunken in. And if it's done incorrectly, you can sort of get a bit of a 5 o'clock shadow going, which isn't ideal. So I'm going to come in and start to blend it up. So there's almost nothing on my brush now, I'm just working on blending these edges. If you think that you've maybe gone a bit too hard, or you've got a bit excited with the bronzer, you can just come in with your foundation brush or sponge, just to soften it a bit. Super easy. Come in and just work on blending it out. So I don't know if you can see the difference between the two sides of my face. There's definitely a lot more shape in this side. So now that I'm happy with how my cheekbones are looking, I'm going to come in and do my forehead now. And what I'm going to do is sort of go along my hairline just to sort of shrink the appearance of my forehead a bit. Not that it's super big, but I do sort of like the look of a smaller forehead on me. I'm also noticed I'm actually going to do too much up here. It's more along these sides. And what this is doing is sort of bringing this bit in, and it's going to make my face look a lot slimmer, which who doesn't love? So I've just finished doing my forehead area. See, nothing too crazy, just a little bit of shape. And now I'm going to come and do this jawline a bit. And this is sort of a bit tricky because if you do it too hard, it can look a little bit funny. So I'm going to do it super, super soft. What I'm going to do is sort of go on the jawline just to get a bit of a blend going, and then start to come in underneath. And it's not going to make a huge difference. It's just going to give me a little bit of definition. So you can see now that I've done this side of my face, it really has sort of added a bit of dimension to my face, which is great. I'm going to come in and do the other side now. So you might have noticed that I haven't done my nose today, and there's a few reasons. It is quite an advanced technique, and I sort of want to keep this video super easy for everyone. Noses look different on everybody, obviously, and mine is a really tricky one to do. So I think I'm going to have to do a separate video on that. But I'm finished for contouring today. It's now going to come and do some blush, which for me is the most exciting part. I love blush. I think it just adds like a really nice warmth and sort of like glow to the face. In my opinion, if you skip blush, sometimes you can look a little bit washed out, which is not the end of the world, but I'm obsessed with blush. So the blush I'm going to be using today is a MAC one, and as you can see, it sort of has a bit of a shimmer to it. Not a shimmer, I should say, more of a pearl. It doesn't have glitter in it, so it gives like a really, really nice glow, but it doesn't really matter what blush you use. It always typically goes in the same place. So I'm going to come in and just use sort of like a medium face brush, swirl it around in my blush. And where I'm going to put it is sort of where we started to fade our contour through here in a bit of an oval shape. So really, really lightly just put a bit on there. I'm going to start a little bit higher because a lot of product is going to kind of come off initially. So up here, just on top of that contour, half on, half off. And once there's not much left at all, I'm going to start to bring it down further towards the apple of my cheek. You'll also notice that I'm not smiling when I put my blush on, because when I smile, my cheeks move up. That's definitely not my normal smile, but my cheeks move up, I put it on, and then I let go, and the blush sort of sags, and it again can drag the face down. So I'm just putting it on with a relaxed face, normal face, and blending it out. I don't know if you can see it in this light, but this blush, just with that tiny bit of sheen, starts to add a bit of glow to the face, which I love. I'm going to come into the other side now, just starting a bit higher than you would. And once there's not much left, you can come down a bit further. Alright, so now that I'm happy with my blush, feel $1,000,000. Blush for me just finishes off my makeup. I love it. The next step now is highlighter, and it is something that has become super, super popular over the last few years, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And it does look amazing, but highlighter's job is to, believe it or not, highlight areas. And what it does is add sort of a bit of a sparkle and shine to those areas, so that when the light hits it, it sort of like draws the eye in. It makes you look super glowy and great. So highlighter's job, like I said before, is to highlight areas. So if there's somewhere on your face that you're maybe not too happy with, so say maybe your nose is a bit pointy, I wouldn't be in a huge hurry to highlight that area, because just know that it is going to draw attention to those spaces. When you're picking your highlighters, it is, in my opinion, important to pick things that aren't super glittery, just because the big chunks of glitter sort of make it a bit more obvious that it is definitely highlighter. With something that is more shimmer than glitter, you can sort of see that maybe it could be more luminous skin, glowing skin, rather than obvious highlighter. So just try and keep that in mind when you're picking your highlighters. For me, one that I love is the BECCA Shimmering Skin Perfectors. This is just one of their little mini ones in the color Moonstone. They're super great, and they're not something that's super glittery, so I love them. For me, I'm going to come in and do what almost everyone loves to have, and that's like a nice shiny little cheekbone there. And for that, I'm going to come in, just sort of see where the light is hitting it first. I'm going to load my brush up. And I'm going to come and put it sort of in a bit of a C shape round through here on the high point, as we all like to say, of the face. I'm not going to bring it too far down the cheek, because that's when the cheek starts to come out and look a bit chipmunky, which is, if you love that look, that's cute too, but this is typically where we want to put it a bit higher to sort of lift the cheekbone up rather than bring it forward. So I've loaded my brush up. I'm going to come in and sort of just start on the corner of my eye, really, and I'm going to do a bit of a C shape around this temple. So I'm going to put it down here first, And then now that there's not a huge amount left on my brush, I'm going to work on up and around. And now there really is nothing left on my brush. I'm going to make sure that there's no harsh lines around any of this highlighter, just to make it look super natural looking. So now that I've got it on my cheekbones, other popular places to pop highlighter are on the inner corners of the eyes, which sort of draws your eyes into the eyes, the windows of the soul. Another popular place is the tip of the nose. Another place I like to put it is the bridge of my nose, but not necessarily the entire strip of my nose. I like to put it sort of just in that middle bit there, really softly, just so you can get a little bit more definition in the nose area. And then lastly, you could use a brush for this as well, just on the Cupid's bow. And what this sort of does is just sort of tries to plump that top lip a little bit. Another question I sort of get asked about highlighter and placement is under the brow bone. And for me, I find that I don't really personally like to highlight that area, just because it can bring the brow bone forward a bit and you can look a little bit angry. And if you have any stray hairs in that area, it is sort of going to highlight those as well. So I personally don't really like to highlight that area. So this is pretty well the finished look for today. A super easy base makeup, fully complete now. So let me know what you thought of these videos, if you thought they were helpful, and let me know what sort of makeup you'd like me to do in my next video maybe. But thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you guys next time.